ill-suited to tackle the problem of fake news. Critically analyze. 250 words. Background: with the advent of new age digital and social media, fake news has pervaded all spheres of life. Governments in countries as diverse as Ireland, the United Kingdom, Germany, France, Malaysia, the Philippines and India have taken legal action purportedly in an attempt to combat fake news. The impetus for these actions escalated after revelations about Russian attempts to influence elections in the United States and France by orchestrating the spread of fake news through social media. Legal action needed. Lack of uniform guidelines, regulation and policy regarding such fabricated content needs to be addressed urgently. Germany has initiated to levy charges on fake news spreading sites. Legal tools will become suited to curb the security challenge with better monitoring system, capacity building in analyzing the news trend. Under Section 153A of the Indian Penal Code (IPC), it is an offense to promote or attempt to promote disharmony or feelings of enmity, hatred or ill will between different religious, racial, language or regional groups or castes or communities. Any fake news which attempts to spread such hate would already fall under this section. Law Commission in its 267th report recognized this and proposed adding two new provisions to the IPC to do precisely this. Additional measures to ensure better implementation of fake speech laws would also be welcome, and might actually make purveyors of such fake news think twice. Legal action is insufficient. International examples. Malaysian law: the law creates no incentive for the platforms to verify accuracy, and they are exempt from liability as long as these platforms did not know that it was fake. In addition, the law has nothing to say about bots that may cause the fake news to be spread widely. Malaysian law's utter inability to tackle the real problem illustrates the fact that legal tools are ill-suited to tackling the fake news problem. Germany's stringent new law against offensive online content has led to some absurd results, including the taking down of posts lampooning peddlers of fake news. The law always has struggled with regulating speech content which is visible in failure of legal efforts against hate speech, obscenity, virtual child pornography, etc. People suffer from affirmation bias, the urge to seek information that affirms their prior beliefs. This cannot be curbed by law. Any legal action would also be futile because of the speed at which these news spread, and damage is done within minutes. Laws will look like a draconian measure to stifle any voices the government doesn't like. For instance, laws which restrict freedom of speech and expression have frequently been used on decisions before this. The fear is that the legislations will also be abused in the same way. Users creating hate content and sharing it can be booked under relevant sections of the Indian Penal Code (IPC). But the sheer expanse of the internet and the anonymity it grants makes it difficult to track down people. 105. www.insightsanindia.com secure synopsis. Unlike mainstream media that falls under comprehensive regulation, online platforms have scope for wrongdoing due to the lack of binding rules, and the ability to keep owners and editors private, like in the case of fake news sites. Way forward, basic regulation for digital media outlets like compulsory and online registration of details need to be implemented strictly. Robust surveillance and compliance mechanisms need to be implemented effectively so that source of news is verified before people need to be aware what is fake news or not. Topic: India and its neighborhood relations. Few critically comment on the extent and implications of poor unity in South Asia in general and India, Pakistan and Bangladesh (IPB) in particular. 250 words. Background: India, Pakistan, Bangladesh account for approximately 95% of South Asia's GDP and population. Along with China, they account for 18.5% of global GDP and 41% of global population. Extent of poor unity in South Asia. India-Pakistan rivalry, further complicated by China-Pakistan proximity and India-China hostility. Souring of Pakistan-Bangladesh relations. Commercial ties between the two countries had generally been affected by a slow-paced development in trade diplomacy since last few years. Besides issues of non-tariff barriers, including visa issues to Pakistani businessmen, hinder commercial contacts between our two countries. Both states have also withdrawn their diplomatic missions, and Pakistan also avoided attending the SAARC Sanitation Conference. The bilateral trade of Pakistan and Bangladesh is also not very significant. India, Pakistan and India have potential trade capacity of $20 billion compared to the current $3 billion. Terrorism, border disputes and militancy in Kashmir are leading to harmful impact on the South Asian region as a whole. Air cargo flights are encumbered by limited access to Indian airspace by Pakistan and vice versa. India, Bangladesh, underdeveloped transport and logistics services and bureaucratic procedures are deterring India-Bangladesh cross-border trade, which can grow by 300%. India-China tug of war over Bangladesh. Illegal migration, land and maritime boundary issues, insurgency, drug trafficking. The growing trade deficit is also a great concern for Bangladesh. Despite Dhaka's repeated requests, India has been tardy in relaxing tariffs and non-tariff barriers and opening up the market of Indian provinces bordering Bangladesh. Another thorny issue is shooting at the border by Indian guards. 106. www.insightsinIndia.com secure synopsis. Although India and Bangladesh have started exploring opportunities using Ashurganya Inland Port, regional inland waterways remain unexplored. Connectivity issues in South Asia. The Bangladesh-China-India-Myanmar Economic Corridor (BCIMEC) has a pivotal position in developing joint investment agreements, but sluggish progress in infrastructural development has rendered the corridor nearly comatose. Due to cross-border barriers and lack of transport facilitation among IPB, freight movement is taking place along expensive routes, escalating investment cost. Movement of trucks across the international frontier is confined by absence of cross-border agreements between India and Bangladesh and India and Pakistan. Rail connectivity is restricted due to technical problems of different gauges, track structures, signaling and so forth. The absence of a multilateral agreement has restricted the realization of the railway potential. Water disputes. The three largest transboundary river basins, Indus, Congo and Brahmaputra, are all within China, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. This represents a huge potential for water sharing and hydropower projects across the basins, but political mistrust is an impediment. The Zangyu hydroelectricity dam has raised concerns in India over downstream water supply. This damming, along with that of the Congo, could exacerbate Bangladesh's downstream water scarcity. Other issues. IPB failed to attract sufficient tourists due to poor civil aviation connectivity, complex regulations and lack of visa liberalization procedures. Communalism has cast a pall of darkness over South Asian region. Religious zealots, who hardly practice their respective religions, are the main communal and sectarian activists fomenting troubles and dividing their society, thus undermining national solidarity. However, there are still good relations among the countries. India, Pakistan and Bangladesh IPB have common socio-cultural bonds and people-to-people connectivity remains positive. India continues to be a natural choice for external investors, including Chinese multinational enterprises like Alibaba and Vime. In 2016, foreign direct investment to Pakistan rose by 56%, largely due to Chinese investment in Belt and Road Initiative (BRI) infrastructure. China has already pledged $38 billion to Bangladesh under the BRI. Synergetic integration of the economic corridors with other BRI projects can accelerate inward investment into IPB. Trade relationship has improved significantly between India and Bangladesh. India has provided zero-duty access of Bangladesh's products, thereby addressing the tariff-related issue to a great extent. Bangladesh, Cambodia and China have signed a framework to strengthen digital regional trade. Pakistan, Bangladesh. Despite problems in trade relations, Pakistani and Bangladeshi entrepreneurs continue to participate in annual exhibitions/trade fairs like Dhaka Trade Fair and Expo Pakistan. Implications of poor unity in South Asia. Chinese factor. China is injecting huge funds into physical infrastructure such as Pakistan's Gwadar Port project and $20 billion in various Indian industrial and infrastructural projects. China has committed 107. www.insightsinIndia.com secure synopsis. $1.4 billion for building Colombo Port City and is set to invest $1 billion more. So the influence of China is increasing in South Asia. The surge in Chinese economic and diplomatic involvement in South Asia poses a serious rival for Indian influence in its neighborhood. For instance, Maldives, Nepal moving towards China. China's increasing role in Nepal, Indian Ocean, Sri Lanka is causing concerns to India. Bhutan, Nepal, Maldives, Sri Lanka, and Afghanistan are paying the price of regional disintegration. Trade is still not up to the mark and is way below potential. Impacts the security issues and terrorism and makes border management more vulnerable. The role of SAARC is diminishing and South Asia trade is taking toll. Way forward, China can lead in transport and transit agreements to facilitate smooth movement of freight and passenger vehicles across IPB, resulting in integration with China and also South Asia. With greater electricity generation and utilization of domestic energy endowments, combined efforts of BCIM, CPEC and the proposed China-Nepal India CNI economic corridor under BRI can capitalize on regional energy potential. Digital connectivity can act as the gateway to a holistic transformation of the region via the CIPB conduit. China is unable to attract students from South Asia against the improved facilities provided by the US and UK. Only 5% of outbound students of IPB go to China, compared to 22% to the US. If these opportunities are tapped, it would enhance mobility of both tourists and students. India thus needs to strengthen the various regional groupings in this region like the ASEAN and the BIMSTEC Bay of Bengal Initiative for multi-sectoral technical and economic cooperation. Importantly, they should work together to resolve all the issues. India and Bangladesh need to strengthen their military ties. Much more can be done in terms of increasing visits, contacts at various levels as well as by selling military hardware. Apart from initiating joint exercises, India should consider the China model of gifting hardware in the initial instance, and offer technical expertise that Bangladesh's military is in need of. Commonalities like shared history, more or less common language, common heritage, literature, art, and culture can be enhanced through Track-II diplomacy, which in turn can be expanded and taken to another level through skilled diplomacy of leaders through shared goals, means, and institutions like SAARC. Every regional state, including these three, can achieve their interests and get satisfactory status on the regional and international level. Conclusion: strategic collaboration that rises to the occasion, looking beyond historical animosity and misgivings, can unlock the new era of regionalism whose benefits are outweighing negatives. Q. With Nepal joining China's OBE initiative and an increasing engagement between the two countries, it is time for a revisit in our foreign policy this Nepal. Comment. 250 words. Background: India has age-old, unique, time-tested ties of friendship with Nepal. The relationship between the two countries is deeply and intricately intertwined by geography, civilizational bonds, and cultural and social enmeshing. 108. www.insightsinIndia.com secure synopsis. However, the Madhesi crisis and the economic blockade at the India-Nepal border in 2015 created some strains, but the strain in relations could not have been sustained for long, which is visible in the recent visit by Nepal's PM to India. Growing proximity of China and EPAL relations. Recently 10 agreements were signed between the two countries. The one related to trade and transit and the other on connectivity have attracted international attention for their security implication in the South Asian region. As per the transit treaty with China, Nepal has now secured transit rights for trade with third countries through the Chinese territory. China decided to supply petroleum products to Nepal, apart from building petroleum storage facilities in this country. Nepal has opened floodgates for the Chinese to operate in all sensitive areas, including Kathmandu, Pokhara, and down up to Lumbini, which is just 25 kilometers from the Indian border. China's activities have been steadily expanding in Nepal after Kathmandu's support for OBE materialized. India needs to revisit its foreign policy with respect to Nepal. Nepal and India have an open border where trade and business is prominent. No other country in the region can allow free and unrestricted movement of people across their border as India and Nepal have done even after delineating the border more than 200 years ago. Even after so many years, relations remained the same. The impression that India is trying to micromanage Nepal's affairs has persisted. Nepal is moving to diversify its relations beyond India. Despite deep ties, India is no longer exercising the same influence over Nepali politics and does not command the same levers to shape Nepali elite opinion and society. Nepali society, particularly the Hill-dominated Kathmandu bureaucracy, media, civil society institutions is becoming more autonomous of Indian influence. Their emotional investment in India is limited. The momentum behind recent economic connectivity initiatives like the Bangladesh-Bhutan-India, Nepal BBIN initiative and the operationalization of the BBIN affiliated motor vehicle agreement MVA demonstrate how both India and Nepal can mutually gain from connectivity initiatives. India has already taken care of the issues. 12-point joint statement was issued recently highlighting the resolve of the countries to take their bilateral relations to newer heights on the basis of equality, mutual trust, respect and benefit. 3 agreements on a rail project connecting an Indian border town with Kathmandu, on inland waterways connectivity and on agricultural development in Nepal were signed. The primacy of India in Nepal has not declined. Nepal's currency is pegged to the Indian currency. Nepali and Indian workers can work freely in each other's countries, without visas and work permits. Nepal and India gain tremendously from remittances from the other. Nepalis can own property in India. Generations of Nepali students have studied in India. This special relationship takes concrete cultural forms. Nepalis and Indians visit each other's country for religious pilgrimage. There is abundant informal trade that exists across the open border. 109. www.insightsinIndia.com secure synopsis. What more needs to be done? To enhance people-to-people relations, Nepal and India must resolve contentious issues relating to the border, including the 2 major areas of dispute, Vatsusta and Kalgani. India must respect Nepal's sovereignty, as mutual respect is a key in bilateral relations, and India should not meddle in the internal political affairs of Nepal or panic over China's growing investment in Nepal. India needs to finish the infrastructure projects on time. For instance, Panchetwar project has been pending for over 20 years now. India will have to focus on connectivity as a leverage to increase its strategic influence in the neighborhood. By reviving the Gujral Doctrine and India's willingness to provide non-reciprocal, unilateral, and preferential benefits to its smaller neighbors, the government has signaled intent to position India as a credible and leading power across the region. Conclusion: with the status of Asia rising day by day in the international arena, India